Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the Arts and Corrections Request for Proposals webinar.
All right, I will go over the access instructions. So please note that this meeting has closed captions and you can find the closed caption icon at the bottom of your screen. We will be using the Q&A box to take questions. Make sure to add your questions and comments there. We will not be monitoring the chat for questions, so feel free to add questions at any point throughout the webinar in the Q&A box. I will be reviewing the Q&A box at the end of the webinar, and we will try to answer as many questions as possible. And we will use our discretion if questions cannot be answered at this time. All questions submitted in the Q&A will be included in the RFP question and answer posting online. And this presentation will also be posted on the AIC website. Both the presentation and Q&A will be posted on artsandcorrections.org by Friday, July 7th.
My name is Jonathan Estrada. I am the Arts and Corrections Program Analyst, and I use he, him pronouns.
And my name is Gabrielle Rosado. I am an arts program specialist here at the CAC, and I use she, her pronouns. And to ground us in the space, I'd like to start with a land acknowledgement. And so the California Arts Council acknowledges the original inhabitants of the lands now called California, and that California continues to be home to many indigenous communities. The office of the CAC is located on the unceded land of the Nisenan in present-day Sacramento. The generations of tribal communities develop deep understanding of the land and continue long-standing relationship with the land, water, air, plant, and animal beings through ceremony, culture, and stewardship. These communities are not only an important part of our history as contemporary Californians, but are also important voices in our understanding of this place. In acknowledging the violent history of the founding of the state of California, its support of state-sponsored genocide, the misrepresentation of indigenous peoples and their culture, and the erasure of their contributions to our shared history, we at the California Arts Council recognize our responsibility to these indigenous communities, and we are compelled to support tribes, tribal organizations, and related organizations, including arts organizations, in their efforts to uplift indigenous people and communities. And with that, I'd like to take a moment for people on the call to acknowledge where you are and the people of your area. And if you need support to learn who are the original stewards of the land you're on, you can refer to the links on the screen that have also been dropped in the chat.
Thank you, Gabrielle. Today, we just did the land acknowledgement. After this, we're going to discuss webinar outcomes about arts and corrections. We're going to talk about the request for proposals, the basics. We're reviewing elements of the RFP 2023-00, coordinating organizations. We'll go over important dates for the RFP. And then there'll be more time to discuss the Q&As. And then there's a feedback survey. The webinar outcomes, we're hoping that you'll understand the request for proposal process by the end of this, gain the technical knowledge to navigate the available request for proposals. There's just one this time around. Identify the purpose, review the RFP components, and understand the evaluation criteria of the AIC RFP. Also, you should know how to submit a complete proposal by the end of the webinar. Arts and Corrections is a partnership between the California Arts Council, or CAC, and the California Department of Corrections and Rehabilitation, CDCR. The program is designed to have a positive impact on the social and emotional well-being of people experiencing incarceration, promote healing and interpersonal transformation, both inside and outside of the boundaries of CDCR's 34 adult institutions across the state. In 2020, the AIC team implemented a set of program values, which are as follows: People experiencing incarceration are deserving of dignity and respect. Program policies should dismantle the root causes of incarceration. Community-based interventions reduce harm and make communities safer by replacing state-sanctioned systems of retribution and punishment. Individual and collective accountability for harm and the healing of trauma can create a more safe and just society for all. Our goal and expectations is that all proposers and future contractors uphold these program values and implement these values into their programming. A request for proposal is different from a grant application because we, the CAC, are requesting proposals to provide an art service to people incarcerated only in California adult state prisons. The RFP is a state competitive bidding process that will result in multiple service contracts. All questions are responded to in a public forum, meaning questions are submitted and responded to in a document uploaded on our website and Cal eProcure. At the end of the presentation, we will have a Q&A session that will allow you to drop your questions into the Q&A. Questions are due at 5 p.m. today. See the key action details in the RFP documents for more details. In most cases, the RFP proposed budget will be equal to the awarded budget. The budget may be adjusted for less, but not more, based on the programmatic needs at an institution. Unlike grants, RFP-related contracts invoice on a monthly basis based on the services rendered. Contractors are responsible for obtaining liability insurance, adhering to employment policies, and other state requirements. The purpose of this RFP is to contract with new, current, and returning coordinating organizations to provide AIC programming that promotes healing and well-being through creativity in order to replace the AIC programming contracts in the 14 institutions listed in Appendix 2. However, proposers may apply for any institution. Multiple contracts are expected to be awarded through this RFP process. Proposals may be submitted for up to a maximum budget of $110,000 per proposed institution. The maximum budget per organization for all awarded current contracts, including those with active AIC 22 contracts, may not exceed a total of $1,500,000 at any given time. Now we will review the different components of this RFP. Firstly, we would like to recommend for you to review the entire RFP. And if this is your first time submitting a proposal, pay special attention to page 16, Appendix 1, the glossary of terms. This section of the RFP document will introduce you to terms that are used throughout the RFP. Appendix 2 starts on page 19. It contains tables of the institutions with contracts that are expiring in August. This section contains information that was obtained from the institution's community resource manager or their analyst. It outlines what programs are being requested at each institution in the region. Please note that AIC did not receive responses by all CRMs. Now we will talk about the evaluation criteria found on page 10 of this RFP. The scoring criteria is divided into 3 sections, and points are allocated using a percentage that is then translated into a score. Section 1 will be proposer information and is worth 15 points. Section 2 will be worth 55 points. The additional criteria is the cost points. Unlike the other sections, it is calculated using a formula. It is worth 30% of the total points. This is a state policy to ensure taxpayer funds are utilized responsibly at the lowest cost to the state as possible. This year's cost formula will evaluate the cost per instruction hour. To read more about the cost points, go to page 11 of the RFP packet. Now we are going to go over the actual RFP. If you want to open your copy to follow along, you absolutely can. You'll go to www.artsandcorrections.org and click the link on top. Okay. So we highly recommend that you read the whole RFP. You must submit the entire template and make sure you sign all parts that need to be signed. So we are going to start at this section 3, which has the questions that you will need to answer to submit a complete RFP. All right, so you're going to need the required attached checklist. Section 1 consists of proposer information. Section 2 consists of the proposed, it says region, but it's actually institution. We will have clarification posted in the Q&A documents, and I will also do an amendment to the RFP to make sure that you are all aware that it is per institution and not per region. Section 3 consists of the additional RFP documents. Once you've completed all 3 sections, you can scan the forms that require a wet signature, compile all required documents into a single zip file, and submit the RFP proposal through email. When you create that digital copy of your RFP, we have this section right here has the labeling conventions. Please do not label your documents ABC Arts. That is an example name. That's where you will put your organization's name. And the email address that you will be submitting your RFP to is rfp@arts.ca.gov. This is the required attachment checklist. So in section 1, you'll put your organization's name. If you click here, you'll be able to type that in. You'll put the proposal contact name. It's often the program director or the executive director of your organization, whoever you want us to be the first contact for this RFP and any contract that comes out of it. You'll put the title of that contact person, phone number, and email. You'll check whether or not you are a certified small business. If you are a small business, refer to section 3, attachment 8 for more information. You'll let us know if your organization is fiscally sponsored. If your organization is fiscally sponsored, provide the fiscal organization name here. Question 5 is about the proposing organization. We'll have you describe your organization's experience working with incarcerated or comparable communities and the actions you have taken to build trust and ongoing relationships. We're asking that you provide specific examples for how your organization's work centers healing and how your prison arts work impacts the family, friends, and communities of people experiencing incarceration. Please keep your answer to under 500 words. Question 6, you'll write down your proposing organization's annual budget. This section is for data collection purposes only. Include your organization's annual budget information here. So you'll put in the number of full-time staff at your organization, current fiscal year total operating revenue, and previous fiscal year total operating revenue. Section 2 is about the proposed institution. We want you to create a new section 2 template for each proposed institution. All proposed programs must adhere to CDCR's California Code of Regulations, and there is a link for you to read those regulations. First question here is, what institution is this proposal for? Then we'll have you describe your organization's experience working in the proposed institution and or its relationship with the proposed institution. That one also has a 500-word maximum. A community resource, and then the second question is a hypothetical. A community resource manager requests that the program change yards or days due to limited space. How would you respond to that request? Please use specific real-life examples if available, and we'll keep that limit also at 500 words. Then you'll go to section C, which is the project plan. First question of the project plan section is, please describe the activities the participants will engage in and how the activities promote healing, well-being, and demonstrate cultural competency. Please answer in clear paragraph form. What equipment and or materials will be needed, will you need to bring into the institution for the execution of your program? What days of the month and what times will you be providing programming inside the institution? The fourth question is, does your program offer rehabilitative achievement credits or milestone completion credit? Section D is where we will have you describe the qualifications of your arts providers. First question is, do all proposed arts providers have at least 3 years of actively participating experience, have they been actively participating in their art for at least 3 years? Simple yes or no. If you responded no, please include more information here. Question 2, describe the unique qualifications of each proposed arts provider as it relates to the execution of your proposed program. Also include the number of years of experience each arts provider has had in correctional or comparable settings. Keep each biography to a 300-word maximum, and please do not copy paste resumes as a replacement for this question. We also want work and artist samples to be submitted in the zip document for every proposed arts provider who will provide direct services within the proposed institution in the region. If you have very large files like videos or MP3 or other kinds of media, please include that as a link in a PDF document. There was some questions already that asked about that, and we will have those answers detailed in the Q&A file that we'll be publishing at the end of the week. Here is also where you'll download the budget example and template.
Right. Thank you for that, Jonathan. So with that, as a reminder, all questions submitted in the Bidders Conference Q&A, as well as all questions submitted to Jonathan's email address listed on the RFP, will be answered publicly via, I believe you said PDF, on the dates on the screen, so by Friday, July 7th. And then on the screen, you will see some key action dates. So please note that submissions are due on Monday, July 24th at 11:59 p.m. Proposals must be emailed. For email instructions, please see page 23 of the RFP. Any proposals received after July 24th will not be accepted.
Again, if you need to access any posted RFP items, please go to www.artsandcorrections.org and you'll see a link on top. Right now it says new funding opportunities are open, but yeah, you'll go ahead and click there to get those. All right, so we thank you very much for joining us. In order to keep consistency within the Q&A, I am going to have everything be answered by written word, via the PDF that'll be uploaded at the end of the week. So thank you very much for joining us. We're going to keep the Q&A open until 1:30. So if anybody comes in who missed the presentation, they will be able to go ahead and ask their questions in that Q&A. Thank you very much for joining us. Thank you, Gabrielle, for your help. Everybody have a great day and good luck.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Jonathan.